all over again. We aren't streaming.
Uh,
All right. Let me wait until we hear the stream. We'll have to do that all over again. I don't know why he can't hear us. That's weird. Okay, we are live now. Yeah, call the meeting to order and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and then the roll call.
Okay. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
under
one
God,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, I've learned the trick there is to just block out everybody else because it's really hard to do that virtually.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to call the roll now. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner Dials.
Here.
Commissioner Warwick.
Here.
Commissioner Keeling.
Here.
And I think Councilor Bescheid is having trouble with her connection, so we'll just hold on and hope she can join us. Yeah, that's it. We can just go on with the agenda.
Okay. Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing to consider an application filed by Olivia Romas, correct? That's the first one? For the owners, Andrew and Jessica Lukowski.
It is the first one, but technically it's not a public hearing.
Oh,
I mean, I guess it is. I don't know.
okay.
It's just a site plan review.
Yeah, it's just a site plan review.
Okay. Site plan
But that
review.
is the first one. You were right.
Thank you. Let's see, the applicant is seeking to place a manufactured home on an existing lot at 1335 and a half North 4th Avenue. The lot has previously been developed with a 1963 model that is 520 square feet, which is a 520 square foot manufactured home. The applicant is seeking to place a 1,296 square foot new manufactured home on the site.
I do want to make one little correction there. There's a typo in that staff report. It's actually 1335 and a half Marksbury. It's not on 4th.
Marksbury?
What?
Hold on. Okay, I thought I saw that somewhere, so I was a little confused myself. So it's not 4th Street?
It's no, it's not 4th. It's Marksbury. What, is it on the corner there or something, Ryan? Is that why you're
It is on the corner. 1335 is a 4th Avenue or address. So it's a little confusing. It may actually be an address error, which we can deal with at the time of placement. But so
okay, I got you.
In part of the county's records, it's listed as 1335 and a half North 4th Avenue, but the people have a driveway off of Marksbury, and I think they've thought of it as a Marksbury address.
Okay, because that's where I saw it was different.
Okay.
That makes sense. Okay, so the agenda had the right address. Staff report.
Technically, they're both right. And both wrong.
Okay, well,
Yes. Oh. Did Wendy freeze?
What was that?
Well, Wendy might come back. I know she was just going to say, why don't you give your staff report, Ryan? So why don't you give your staff report while Wendy comes back?
Okay, so she explained the background. So this is our first site plan review other than the fence permit review. So there are two sections of the code that we're really looking at. The first section talks about how the planning commission is supposed to review all site plans. And there are 7 standards in section 1748050, and those are standards A through G. So I have described how this application does or does not meet those standards. And to do that, we have to look at the zone to determine what the requirements are for that zone. And all 3 tonight are in the R1 zone. And those are all the criteria for that are found in section 17.16, 100 through 200. So I'll go through this. The first one, standard A, the site plan, landscaping, and architecture of the proposed improvement is adequate and meets the requirements of the neighborhood, essentially. So the argument is that this is satisfied. It's a single-family dwelling, which is a permitted use. It has a front yard setback of 26 feet, which exceeds the required 20-foot setback. It has a rear yard setback of 26 feet, which exceeds the required 10 feet. It has a west side yard setback of 21 feet, which exceeds the 5-foot requirement, and an east side yard setback, which is 10 feet, which is what's required on a 10-foot exterior side yard. That's a yard facing another street, which is Marksbury in this case. In the R1 zone, we allow coverage up to 50% of the lot. This proposed home would be covering 18.5%. We also have a height limit of 35 feet, and this house will be approximately 14 feet high. They're not proposing any fencing or landscaping, and we wouldn't require any for this. So standard A is met. Standard B talks about access points. They currently have one driveway off of Marksbury. So there's a condition here. In order to meet the existing code, section 17.62.020G, the current driveway, if it's going to be purposed for a new home, has to be paved from the street pavement to the property line. So that's one condition of approval, that they will pave the driveway apron. Then section C, or standard C, talks about off-street parking. So our code in section 17.60.060A requires that single-family dwellings require 2 off-street parking spaces. Also, there's a section of the code that talks about manufactured homes, and they have to have a garage or carport if nearby residences have garages or carports. In reviewing the county's records, the property to the north, west, east, and south all have garages. Some of those may have been altered, but according to the county, they all have garages. So as a condition of approval, the applicant will be required to install a garage or carport. Standard D, signs and other outdoor advertising structures shall not conflict with or deter from traffic control signs or devices. There's no signage proposed here, so that's not applicable. Standard E, consideration shall be given to the accessibility and sufficiency of firefighting facilities. So a quick response, the layout of the lot has the entire lot within the required distance for access for a fire truck, so that's met. Fire apparatus access standards are met, and the building permit process they'll have to go through will require further fire safety compliance. And the last one, standard, or the next one, standard F, all improvements shall comply with architectural and design standards. So when we look at a manufactured home, there's a whole section of the code, 17.16.200B, that has 7 requirements. It has to be at least 1,000 square feet. This one is over 1,200. It has to have a roof pitch of at least 14 degrees, which this does. It has to have exterior siding, roofing, and the color and material of those have to be superior to or similar to nearby residences. This is a modern manufactured home, which would not have the old-fashioned 1960s style siding, so it would meet that criteria. And again, there's that section that because the neighboring properties have a garage, it will have to have a garage or carport. The thermal envelope requirement, basically all manufactured homes built in the last 30 years meet that. They have provided information that this meets that requirement. Manufactured home has some placement requirements, and that this is on a slight grade, and the manufactured home cannot be more than 16 inches above grade. So that's something they'll have to comply with. And finally, there'll have to be a foundation skirting around the manufactured home. And the last standard, G, all improvements shall comply with all applicable city, state, and federal laws and regulations. Staff finds this is satisfied, and pending approval, they'll have to comply with all city, state, and federal laws and regulations. So, staff's recommendation, after looking at all of these criteria, is that the Planning Commission approve the placement of a manufactured home at 1335 and a half 4th Avenue or 4th Marksbury, as it appears to meet all development standards. Staff suggests that the Planning Commission approve this request with several conditions of approval. One, that the driveway apron be paved in conformance with section 1762.020K. Two, that the applicant shall meet all of the required manufactured home standards found in section 17.16.200B. And three, that all development is subject to compliance with the Gold Hill Municipal Code as well as state and federal laws and regulations. So that's the staff report, and if there are any questions or comments, I'd be happy to try to address those.
No questions.
Well, I have a question.
Got a question?
Did we?
I have a question.
No.
Where is the front door?
The front door would be facing Marksbury.
So it is a Marksbury address.
I think that we should clarify when they get this approved through a letter to the county that it is a Marksbury address, and staff can do that at a staff level.
Okay, just so they know they have to declare it. That's conventional in the city. The front door determines your address, so, okay.
Right.
I sent you all another email later in the day with potential motions, just so you have them, the wording.
Yeah, the only comments I have is obviously the code is designed so that a manufactured home is going to look like the other residences in the neighborhood. And, it appears that plan for this is going to address that, obviously, and again, meets all the requirements.
Wendy, you are back with us now? Maybe. Wendy, if you're with us, your mic is muted.
We lose her? Oh.
I don't know. She's texting me like she can't hear us.
Excuse me.
So if Commissioner Brown comes back, the options for the Planning Commission would be to approve the site plan as submitted with the staff recommendations, or to approve with alternate recommendations made in a motion. If you do make any alternate conditions, those should be tied to one of the 7 standards in the code, or Planning Commission could choose to deny the application, and if so, you need to select which one or one and other standards are not met by the application.
I'm comfortable with a motion for to go ahead with the staff recommendations. That seems good to me. And
Yeah.
should I read the script?
So I'm gonna call Commissioner Brown on my cell phone.
Okay.
Hey, I've got you on speakerphone. Yeah.
I think as long as the motion to approve includes the recommendations of the staff report, that language is sufficient.
So, okay. In the meantime, Ryan has finished his staff report and everyone has asked questions and they want to go ahead and do the vote. Do you? Okay. Keep trying. Okay. Did you hear that? Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and close the site plan review. And if one of you wants to make a motion, we're just going to vote without her.
Well, Steve, you kind of did that already, didn't you?
Yeah, I move that the Planning Commission approve the site plan review to allow a new single-family home on the 0.16 acre parcel located at 1335 and a half North 4th, or Marksbury, wherever it turns out to be. But with it, and the condition being that it follows the staff recommendations and based on compliance with Gold Hill City standards and the stuff outlined in the staff report.
I will second that motion.
All right. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay. Commissioner Martin.
I approve. Yes.
Commissioner Warwick.
Yes.
Commissioner Dials.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling. All right. Motion passes. Okay, I'll just keep doing this until she can get back here. So the second one is an application to place a new home on an existing lot at 857 Jacoby Street. The lot is undeveloped and was created as part of the Jacoby Village subdivision in 2007. The applicant is seeking to place a 1,687 square foot new home to include an attached garage and porch on the site. Staff reporter, please.
Okay, so this is a very similar review, the difference being that this is a stick-built house. So we were reviewing it under the same criteria. All of the site plan review criteria are in 1748050, and then the zone-specific criteria are in 1716 100 through 200. So the first standard, standard A, does the site plan, landscaping, and architecture meet the requirements? Staff finds that that's satisfied. It's a single-family home, which is an allowed use in the R1 zone. The front yard setback is 53 feet, which exceeds the required 20 foot. The rear setback is 10 feet, which meets the required rear setback. The west side yard is 5 feet, which meets the required 5 feet setback. And the east yard setback is 22 feet, which exceeds the required 5 foot setback. The lot coverage is approximately 21.5% once they were to build this house, which is less than the maximum coverage of 50%. And the proposed home is 2-story, being approximately 22.8 inches high, which is less than the maximum 35 feet. So this seems to meet the requirements of the zone for the site plan. There is an issue with the points of ingress and egress. As shown, this is going to use an existing, what appears to be shared driveway off of Jacoby Street, shared with the property to the east. So our code requires that if there's a shared driveway that they provide a recorded access easement. So one condition of approval will be that they either show an existing recorded access easement or obtain one. So that would be one suggested condition of approval. And that may have already been done with the original subdivision, but I don't have a record of that. Standard C, they have to have off-street parking that meets the requirements. And again, for a single-family home, we require 2. They're proposing a garage with additional parking area in front of the garage, so they'll exceed the required amount of vehicle parking. They're not. Standard D talks about signs. They're not proposing any signs. Standard E talks about firefighting facilities, and again, with the layout of the lot, all of the building will be close enough to the street that it meets the fire access standards. Standard F, improvements shall meet the architectural and design standards of the city. The proposed layout shows a home that includes appropriate and attractive architectural details that will be a benefit to the neighborhood in Gold Hill. Staff finds that satisfied. G, Standard G, all improvements shall comply with all applicable city, state, and federal laws and regulations. Again, that can be conditioned. So the recommendation from staff is that Planning Commission approve the site plan for a new home at 857 Jacoby Street with 2 conditions. 1, that the applicant shall submit evidence of a recorded shared access agreement. And 2, that all development is subject to compliance with the Gold Hill Municipal Code as well as state and federal laws and regulations. So again, it would be the same process. Planning Commission could recommend approval with the suggested recommendations of staff or alternate conditions of approval based on standards in the code, or deny it if they find that some of the standards aren't met, and then point out which standards are not met. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to address those.
Well, I have a quick question. Of course. When people submit their information to you, do they give you a rendering of their property? Just a little line drawing so you can see where it is?
Yeah, I don't know. Did the Planning Commission members get those? Each applicant turned in a site plan that shows where on the lot the house will be, and they also turned in elevation drawings that show what each, the front, back, and sides of the house would look like.
That was not included, at least with my paperwork, and that makes it easier to know when you're talking about things like shared driveways, what you're talking about.
So this one, when you go up Jacoby, there are, I think, 2 properties on the right. Gus's house, maybe 2 more, and then it kind of curves to the left, and this property would be straight up. There's also 1 more lot to the right, and they share an existing little driveway.
Yeah, I was able to look on the front counter and look at the tax lots, and you can see, I was able to get an understanding of the shared driveway there.
You're muted, Jessica.
That's right. Yeah, I just realized that. Yeah, that was totally my fault. I realized I didn't have the staff report, so I didn't send you the site plans because I was going to send it all at once, and then I didn't. So sorry about that.
So the one key here is that they either have or get a recorded easement in place for that shared driveway.
Correct. They're showing that they're going to use really essentially the neighbor's driveway to access it, and that's fine if the neighbor agrees, but we can't give them permission to build that unless they have an agreement.
Looks like Wendy still hasn't been able to get in. So if there are no other questions, I'll close the site plan review. Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? Please.
So I'll make a motion. I move that the planning commission approve the site plan to allow a new single-family home on the 0.18 acre parcel located at 857 Jacoby Street. The motion is based on compliance with the City of Gold Hill standards, as outlined in the staff reports, and incorporates the findings of the staff reports, specifically that recorded easement for the driveway be obtained before further approval is given.
Second?
I'll second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call then. Commissioner Dial.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Yes.
Right, motion passes. Okay, so the next one. Our next site plan review before you is for 784 North Riverside Avenue. The applicant is seeking to place a new home. The lot is undeveloped. The applicant is seeking to place a 2,000 square foot shop and a 1,491 square foot new home on the site. Is Brian still here? There he is.
I think I got bumped out, but I'm back.
Great, perfect timing to give us the staff report on 784 Riverside.
Okay. So this is on the river, essentially off of Riverside Avenue. I'm trying to place that for people since they don't have the site plan. There's a small little street called, what is that street? Is it Ferry or? You're muted again, Jessica. Jessica, you're muted.
Yeah, I did that again. It's directly behind Rage. It's one of those lots directly behind Rage that haven't been developed yet on the river.
Tiffany Lane? Is it
Yes.
Tiffany Lane?
So you go
Yeah, at the end of Tiffany Lane,
it's
those lots back there. Yep.
basically one lot to the east when Tiffany Lane turns into Riverside. So the applicant is David Hammond, and he's asking to place a new home on an existing 0.31 acre lot, again in the R1 zoning district. And this has an address of 784 North Riverside Avenue. Some of the old maps call it Riverside Street, but it's Riverside Avenue. And so it is currently undeveloped, and he's asking to place a 1,491 square foot new home and a 2,000 square foot shop / garage. So again, we have the same criteria, all of the site plan criteria, A through F in 1748-050, A through G, and then the zone specific criteria in 1716-100 through 200. So again, this is a shared driveway issue. He's planning to use the existing driveway to the property to the west to access his parcel. Pretty close, just 20 feet south of Redwood Avenue would be his 2,000 square foot garage / shop. And then about 20 feet towards the river from that would be his almost 1,500 square foot house. And then the house is about 90 feet from the river. So that's kind of the layout of what the site looks like. So first we look at standard A, the site plan. Again, it's a single family dwelling, which is an allowed use in the zone. So we look at all of the setbacks. The rear setback, the closest to the rear property line, which is on the river, is 80 feet. That exceeds the required 10-foot setback. The side yard setback is shown to be 5 feet. That's to the west. That meets the required 5-foot setback, and that's the house. And then on the east, the garage is shown to be 5 feet from the property line, which is meeting the required 5-foot setback. The lot coverage is approximately 24%, which is less than the maximum coverage of 50%. Both structures would be single story, and it looks like the house is approximately 15 feet high at the highest, which is less than the maximum 35 foot requirement. So it appears to meet the site plan requirements. And then standard B, we talk about access. So again, this is where he's proposing to use an existing driveway to the east. Again, the property to the east is undeveloped, but has a driveway off of Tiffany Lane. So Tiffany Lane kind of goes to the left and the right. So if you went to the right and then went down, there's the driveway to an empty lot. He's proposing to use that. So the same standard code applies. 1762-020 says that if it's a shared driveway, he has to provide an access easement. So his options would be to provide that access easement or change his design and get an encroachment permit and add a driveway directly off of Riverside Avenue. He has enough room to do that. He would just like to share the driveway. So the conditions would have two choices: either show us an approved agreement or change his design and get an encroachment permit authorized by Public Works and pave the driveway from Riverside to his property. Off-street parking, again, he's proposing a garage / shop which has vehicle parking and also parking in front of that, which exceeds the required 2 spaces. Standard D, signs, there's no signage proposed. Standard E, firefighting facilities, again, the layout would include a house that's close enough to the Riverside Avenue that they can pull a fire hose, so it meets all of the fire access standards. Standard F requires architectural and design standards. Again, he showed there were elevation drawings showing that it was a standard house that would meet the criteria of the city of Gold Hill. And then standard G, all applicable city, state, and federal laws shall be followed. So one item to point out here is that part of this property is in the special flood hazard area. I was able to determine by looking at FEMA maps that due to the location of his house, he's at least 20 feet outside of the special flood hazard area. So if he were to build a house further towards the river, which was his original intent, he would have to complete a floodplain development permit and provide elevation certificates to prove that it was above the base flood elevation, but he's chosen to build it outside of the special flood hazard area, so he will not be required to provide certification that he's met the floodplain development standards. So the recommendation of staff is that the Planning Commission approve his request to build a home at 857 Jacoby Street with 2 conditions. The first being that he should submit evidence of a recorded shared access agreement or revise the plans to indicate a direct driveway off of Riverside Avenue and submit an encroachment permit to the city. And 2, all development is subject to compliance with the Gold Hill Municipal Code as well as state and federal laws and regulations. Any additional development may require floodplain development permit review. And again, the choices would be the same. Planning Commission could approve with the conditions as presented in the staff report or approve with amended conditions based on findings related to one of the required standards, or they could choose to deny the application if they felt that one of the standards or several of the standards are not met. So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
And he's happy about that. It's the floodplain review.
I had one. I think it's just a minor typo. I think on the top of the staff report, it lists the tax lot as 3002. And in the text of the staff report, I believe it's supposed to be tax lot 2614. It does refer to 2613 and 14 as the shared driveway. And I think 2614 is the actual tax lot.
Yeah.
Tax lot 3002 there's an existing home on that tax lot.
Yeah, you're right, Mark. I'm looking at it. It's 2614.
I'm
Okay.
not sure if that's a big issue or not. It probably should be just corrected in the staff report, I guess.
Now, what was the setback on the shop? I understand that the shop sits out in front of the house.
Yes, and it is 20 feet from the edge of the Riverside Avenue right-of-way to the shop.
It's that.
And I will correct the tax lot information. You're right. It should be tax lot 2614.
So I have a question about the term shop. It is in fact a garage, right?
Yeah, it's the garage door where he plans to do his own work stuff. So we could put in a clarification that it's a private shop garage, not to be a commercial shop. If the
I
planning
think
commission was concerned about that.
we should be really specific about that. And the only kind of business that you can't have as a home business is an auto-related business in the downtown core. So he could sure have a big garage if he wants, but he can't have a shop.
Right. And I think in talking to him, his intent is to do his own kind of woodwork. He is a retired engineer, so I don't think he was planning to do an automotive business like working for others, but we could clarify that in another condition if the planning commission was interested, just to state that the shop shall be used for private residence purposes and not as a auto repair or other commercial shop.
Yeah, I think that would be good to be specific. So if this place changes hands at some point, someone doesn't misunderstand what they can do with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Otherwise, it looks fine.
Wendy, can you participate now?
I can, but I don't know that I am in a position to because I haven't heard anything. So I think I'll recuse myself on this one and missed out on most of it. But I'm back. Yeah.
Okay then, if there's no other questions, we'll close the site plan review and call for a motion.
Can you pick that up, Craig?
I should hear it.
Thank you. Sorry.
Do I hear a motion?
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll let me get this up here in front of me here.
Yeah, I don't have the language. I'm sorry. Or I would do it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Need a motion.
Yeah.
Mark, did you say you want to make a motion?
Yeah, he's pulling it up.
Okay. I think Mark, are you?
Yeah, he's pulling up the language so we
I'm
can
trying
read
to
it.
pull the language up here.
Okay.
I can do it again.
Carol's are doing this from home.
Okay, I'll move that the planning commission approve the site plan review to allow a new single-family home on a 0.31 acre parcel located at 784 North Riverside. The motion is based on compliance with the City of Gold Hill standards and the two conditions outlined in the staff report. And if we need to make a note, the 2,000 square foot shop is not to be used for any commercial purposes, in private use only. That the plan be approved based on that condition.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Was that you, Commissioner Martin?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
I'll do a roll call.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Commissioner Giles,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown is abstaining. Motion passes. Oh, all right. I don't have any staff comments other than we'll get it together a little better next time. And I will make sure I have hard copies of everything that you guys can come by and get, because I know it's hard to look at your computer and be on your computer at the same time. I'm still working with Ryan to get you hard copies of all of the relevant sections of code. We think we've just about got that nailed down. So hopefully by the next meeting, you'll all have hard copies of the code. And that next meeting won't be until, oh, we should set a date. How about, let's see, this was the third Tuesday, or I don't know, do you want to do January 14th? Okay,
That's a Thursday.
that's last year's calendar I'm looking at. January 12th. Or you can do it the week after that, the 19th, then we'll go ahead and make it almost a full month. Yeah, the 19th.
Yeah, the third Tuesday is I have another board meeting on the third Tuesdays usually.
So the third Tuesday is the 19th.
Yeah, can we do it on either the 12th or the 26th? Is that okay if we consider either the second or fourth Tuesday?
Yeah, we can go until the 26th. Or you can go the 12th. I don't think there'll be too many applications over the holiday period before the 12th. That's why I'm thinking push it off to the 26th. Give people time.
I'm good for either one.
Any concerns?
Either one works for me.
Is someone playing an organ? What it was?
Sounds like a cuckoo clock or something.
Clock.
So we're going to go to the 26th. Does that work for everybody?
Rest the commissioners? Okay, great. Thank you.
Brian, did you have anything else you need to put out?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Sorry, I keep taking the meeting away.
Sorry I wasn't here today. Thanks for holding down the fort, everybody.
Cool.
All right.
Well, happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next year.
Bye.
Next month.
Okay. Thank you.